Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So guys, so first question is, what is Docker? That's a very important question. What is Docker? Now, anyone have an answer for it? Anyone? Quick response. Anyone? No. Something else? Quickly, guys. You can speak up also. I mean, over the audio, you can speak up if you're comfortable. So okay, no problem. So now, guys, when we say Docker, right? Everyone is talking about the Docker from last 5 years. Everyone is crazy about a Docker. You know, everyone wants to learn the Docker. Every organization wants to implement the Docker and stuff like that. But what is Docker? So when I see a Docker, then I see it's a container management, okay, tool or Akka platform. Okay, fine. It's a container management tool. Now guys, what is the definition of tool here? So if I see a tool, definition of tool, that means it can save time. Wonderful. It can save cost also. Wonderful. It can improve the qualities also of the work quality. That's a definition of tool, right? Human being has been using tools from last so many years, right? And we always change the tools. Earlier we used to change the tools every 50 years, and nowadays we change the tools every 1 year. Yeah. And after a few years we'll change the tool every 1 month, and then 1 week, and then probably 1 second, I don't know. Okay, so we are changing the tools. The duration is getting decreased actually, slowly. So yes, we are. So this is also a tool, right, which will save time, save costs, improve qualities of the software. But into what domain? Into what domain? While running applications, but in a data center. Yes, when you want to run applications and you want to save time, do you want to run applications in the data center or production boxes or QA environment or dev environment? Anywhere. I'm not only specific to data center, but at the large scales we use in a data center only. Okay, so do you want to save time? Then use container. Do you want to save cost? Then use container. When I say cost, then when you run application, which is the things which is being utilized? Which are the resources which is being utilized? Tell me, when you run applications, which are the things which is being utilized? Quickly, please. Yes, correct. Bhushan is correct. CPU and RAM. So that the CPU and RAM is not coming free of cost, right? So you want to save cost, and at the same time you want to improve the quality of the software. So yes, in that case, Docker is a tool for saving time, saving costs, improving quality while running an application. But still, one thing I'm not clear. What is a container? Management, we all Indians are very good in terms of defining the management, right? We all think, including myself, I think I'm a very good manager. I'm very good in management. But what is a container? That's the next question, right? What is a container? What is container? So this is the most important questions which you should know. Anyone would like to tell me what is a container? Anyone have an idea, rough idea about the what is container? Bundle of software. Yes. What else? What else? Okay. So guys, I'll give you a little bit different definition. So I think Rookie is a box which contains something. Yeah. Yeah. So what is container?
Isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is container? So guys, forget about what is container. Let's discuss something else. I have one questions for you, which you need to answer. Okay. Now, what are the resources? Okay, read my questions and think. Okay, what are the resources needed to run one application? Simple question. When I say resources, mind it here that resources is important. What are the resources? So when you want to run in one applications, let's say applications like Apache or Tomcat or MySQL or Ubuntu is also, I mean, operating system is also application. Remember, it's also a software, right? Or Jenkins or SonarQube or Java or .NET. These all are application. Everything, Notepad, everything is application. So my question is very simple. What are the resources we need to run one applications? So can you please tell me? Anyone have a clue on clue? I know that you know that. We need to think in a right perspective with the right mindset. I know that you know that because we all are software engineers. We all have done this. We all have got into that. Yep. So there's one input, disk memory and disk space and memory, right? Yeah. So first thing, guys,
Environment plus
when you,
common.
yeah, correct, environment. So I'll put it in a you know, right way. That's the, I mean, whatever the input you will give it, I will put it in a right way. So what are the resources we need? So first of all, let's say Hari will ask me, Rajesh, can you run Apache? Then I will ask Hari back, Hari, can you give me one machine? Right? Can you give me machine? Because I will run one applications only and only when I have a machine. In a simple way, I will say hardware. Typical terminology is hardware, but in the hardware, what you need a CPU, you need a RAM, you need a storage and all blah 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 blah. You know that. After that, I got the hardware. He got me one laptop. Then I will ask Hari, can you give me one more thing? Operating system. Okay. Then I got the operating system also. Right? After that, what I will do? After that, I will log into operating system and I will create a user. Right? One user. Using that you can run applications. Have you run any application? Think about it. You must be using you started the software engineering career, you know, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know, maybe. Have you ever run any application without a user? Have you? No. There are users. There are users all the time. You let me show you in the Windows my laptop. Okay, by the way, my laptop is a little bit mess. Okay, so many applications running, so I have to clean up. See here, there are so many applications which is running in my laptop. See here, this is the one, this chrome.exe, too many, Firefox, too many, you know, these all MS Paint, actually so many, and so many applications. Look at it very carefully and look at this username table. Do you see any applications which is running without a user? Either Rajesh Kumar or system or local or network or some users are there. Correct? Guys, are you getting my points?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So you are running you got a hardware, then you got operating system, and then you got a user. But what else you need it? What else you need? So guys, next I will need a file system. What is a file system? See, I want to run Apache, or let's say I want to Tomcat. What I need? File system. Which file system? Root file system. What is the root file system we call it? I'll put it in a simple way. Guys, any operating system you log in, let's say Windows, okay? Can you copy your applications like Apache or Tomcat without having C drive or without having D drive or without having E drive? Have you? Or let's say in Linux, OPT, TMP, bin, user home, this, that, and all. Correct? Have you ever done it? That's called root file system. I'll come back to this one topic little bit later. But you need a root file system on which you can run that. You can copy the files of Apache or Tomcat and you can run that. So you need a root file system. So you need a user, you need a root file system. Now what else you need? You need one PID also. Why we need a PID? Why we need a PID? Why do we need PID? Here is the answer. Why do we need a PID? Tell me. See, look at this very carefully. It's a Windows and something similar concept we have in Linux also. Okay. Each application you have a next table PID, and this PID you have a unique all the time. So why do we need a PID, guys? Anyone have information? You might have studied in your second or first semester in the system computing topic.
Every process having their own ID.
But why?
To run the application or to start or stop, we use that.
That's a huge cases. But why? That's a huge cases. No.
To identify the which process is running.
Okay.
Just to identify
you,
which process is running.
You are all are telling correct definition. There's no wrong statement. But I ask why? Why we get a PID? Guys, you know why we get a PID? Because what happens? This CPU allocation and memory allocations can be done by C groups. Okay, there is one kernel which is called C groups. I'm not able to write it properly. Okay, so here what happens? Any resources which get allocated to the application that get allocated to this application through the PID allocation. That's the reason if you want to know which is the process, which is the CPU and RAM for this this application, so you fetch it through the PID. So C group, there is one component in kernel which basically allocate the CPU and memory and identified by that particular PID. So that means this particular application is consuming this much of CPU and RAM because we are allocating to the thing. So basically system resources, for that you need a PID. So every process you run, I repeat, every process you run, whether that process is in a daemon mode, all of these process what you see is a daemon mode right now, or all running, or some temporary process without a PID, you will not be able to run. So every process you get it. You see here, this system I'm running from the morning. So the PID started with the 16,332 and it has, oh no. Wait a second. It's the opposite. Yeah. So here you see it's running from the, see, started with the 0. See here. I rebooted the system in 0 and you see this will keep growing because every time you close the application, open the application, close the application, open the application. So this will always keep assigning the new random numbers with the PID. Always unique in the system. So here what I'm trying to say here is, what was the question? What are the resources need to run one application? Running one application, so you need a one PID. So guys, here we need a hardware, then operating system, then user, then root file system, and then PID. These are the three things we needed. Guys, there's some noise coming from your side. Can you please mute yourself? Yeah, if you speak up, please unmute. If you don't speak up, then you can mute. Okay. So now these are the resources I need. User I need, root file system I need, PID need. What else? Now guys, I want to access that application from outside. Let's say one application is running in my laptop, but you want to access it from your machine. So what do you need? What do you need? Network. So we need a network also. Wonderful. So guys, these are the resources I need for application. So see, these all are resources I need so I can run one application. That means if someone will ask you, okay, what are the prerequisites for running one applications? One user. Okay, I'll write it here. Need one user I need, one root file system I need, one PID I need, and one network I need. Simple. I need for one applications. Now the question is, have you ever thought Next question is, have you ever thought how the user is being created? How's the root file system is being created? Okay. How's the PID is being created? PID process ID. How the network is being initialized? Have you ever thought? Anyone have knowledge? We studied in this first semester, second semester, I believe. Anyone? So guys, this is operating system. Operating system contain what? Yes, kernel. Kernel has what? Kernel has what? Kernel is, what is a kernel? No, that's a different thing. What is a kernel? Anyone would like to tell me what is a kernel? Anyone? What is kernel? Even I don't know. Okay, so I just Google it. This is the best place where we can get the knowledge. I just Google it. What is kernel? And when I Google it, yeah, someone said, Bhushan said correctly. Yeah. So when I Google it, I got some definition. Let me show you here. See here. What is kernel? A kernel is a computer program. Yes. It's just a program. We call it kernel, but it's a program. What is a program? Now you know that. It's a software. Basically, kernel is a kind of software which helps human to talk to machine. Everywhere is a kernel, different kind of kernel. Okay. Without the kernel, we cannot talk to machine. Machine cannot talk to me. I mean, to us. Kernel is just a computer program, right? So kernel is a computer program. So now guys, this is a kernel definition. Okay. Now let me ask you one thing. Forget about this kernel and all this stuff like that. You've been working in on your project. That's some software project. Guys, tell me, anyone who's from the architect group or senior engineer group, in your product, how many modules you have? Anyone just tell me how many modules in your software, how many modules you have? Anyone? Just numbers. You must be having modules, right? Multiple modules, multiple components, multiple libraries, correct? So in your software, how many modules you have? Anyone? 20. Wonderful. 20 modules you guys have. So say a similar concept. If your software has a 20 modules and each modules will do the some different functionality, will perform different functionality. So guys, kernel also divided into the module. It's a software program. It's a software. It's a computer program that also divided into modules. But what we call these modules, you know, we call it namespace. We call it C groups, and we call it capabilities. These are the modules actually. I'm trying to define in a simple way. Okay, I'm not teaching you kernel, but because of I want to answer this question, what is a container, I need to tell you something. So we call it a namespace, we call it a C groups, we call it a capability. These are the modules which you have in the kernel. Let me show you. Linux kernel. Okay, I'll just put it in Google. I'll go to the images. Okay, and here if I see that, some good images, I'm looking for it. My context. Okay, I will get lost if I start trying all the images. I'll put it namespace, something like that. Okay. Look at this. This image is good. You see here. One more image I would like to open up. And one more image I would like to open up. Here. So guys, this is small actually. Okay, no problem. I hope you can see it. Okay. I made a mistake. So guys, can you see this, all these images correctly?
Yes.
So see that in this image, look at this. Linux kernel somewhere down. And you see namespaces, capabilities, C groups, netlink, SELinux, netfilter, AppMarmot, like that. There's so many libraries are there in the kernel. So many libraries. But right now, for the discussion's sake, I don't want to teach you and complicate all of your understanding. These are the namespace, C groups, and capabilities. Only 3 as of now. Okay. So kernel has multiple library we named with the namespace, C groups, and capabilities. So now the question was not this, what it contains in the kernel. The question was, how do we get users created? So guys, you know what? There is one library, and again in the namespace, there are different kind of namespace. I repeat, in the namespace, there are different kind of namespace. Which are those? Let's look at the visualization. Look at that, you decide. See here, there's a Linux namespaces, and you see type, net, IPC, C groups, mount, paid, users, UTS. Different kind of namespace. So here guys, you know, there is one namespace called user namespace. User namespace. Okay, this is the one library. Now this library, you initiate, mind it here, I'm telling you, initiate one, you get one user. You get one user. So basically, think about it. Kernel has a kernel is a computer program, has a multiple module. One of the module is called namespace. Namespace has some module called user namespace. User namespace, once you initialize, once you get one user. Now let me ask you one more question, and this is for the programming community. I have no idea how many of your programmers are there, to be honest. Let me ask you this question. Do you know the concept of class and object? This we have studied in the first semester only. I'm not talking about your experiences. I'm talking about your college time. Class and object. All of you? Yeah. So what is a class? Anyone would like to talk about on audio rather than chatting? What is a class? What is an object? Okay. Okay, probably some of you are not interested in the description, but can you tell me guys one thing? How many objects we can create from class? Anyone would like to tell me? Let's be serious guys. And one more thing, I will tell you one thing which is very important for all of you. See, DevOps is not about which are the technology you will learn, because we have a great people in the world who knows so many technologies. DevOps is all about how can we share our knowledge with each other and work together and and do the thing. So you should you should say, I mean, there's no knowledge which is called wrong knowledge. Okay, you have a different context, you can define in a different way. So you should speak out, because if you want to become a DevOps engineer, you want to practice a DevOps in your company, in your project, if you learn DevOps, you have to speak out. If you don't speak out, even though if it is a wrong definition, it's okay. Okay, so don't hesitate. I think only 2-3 people are participating, and remaining are probably in an offline mode. So let's speak out, because it's a good thing. DevOps is a good thing, right? Okay, so back to the question. My question was how many objects we can create from the class, and Anuj said infinite. Yes, best, perfect answer. Proportional to the infrastructure. That's correct. Yep. Okay, so you can get as many numbers you want it. So here, similar way guys, similar concept. See here, this is a program, this is also program, this is also program. So if I initialize one, I get one user. So if I initialize multiple, how many users you can get it? How many users you can get it? Multiple. Can get.
Multiple.
Yeah, can get. Here I'm writing can get. So you can write, you can get multiple. Infinite, correct? Infinite depends on the resources. Someone said very well definition. Infinite. Okay, so this is the thing. So guys, here, namespace, you have a user namespace. Now the question is, how do we get a root file system? Root file system means anything start with the root. Now let me tell you here some little bit of brief about, I want to give you the file system. Many of you are not understanding. Guys, there are 3 file system available in the world. Okay, one is like a boot file system. Okay, the second one is a root file system. Okay, third one is a user file system, and fourth one is application file system, and fifth one you define whatever you want. Okay, now the question is, what is a file system? File system is collections of files and directory for some purpose. Okay, simple. I'm just defining in a simple way so you understand some purpose. So your Git, yesterday you learned Git, right? It was just a file system. Remember I said Git is not a versioning for file. Git is versioning for file system. Okay, probably that you can correlate the discussion now. Okay, so here file system, so you can have as many file system you wanted. So here file system is a collection of file system. So what is a boot file system? So boot file system is your kernel program actually. Have you seen that kernel program? You can go and GitHub and download that kernel program. Okay, so that's your boot file system. What is a boot? Means the moment you on the laptop or start the VM virtual machines, then it boots. Okay, in a RAM. Okay, RAM. So that is called boot file system. Now what is a root file system? So root file system, let me show you rather than talking. Okay, root file system, I'll just Google it. Whenever I get any questions, I just Google it. So here root file system, I'll click on the images. This I think little bit slow. Yeah, so guys, tell me one thing. Have you seen this kind of structure anywhere? Do you have a memory for remembering all this stuff? Have you seen
Linux
this?
machine.
Yeah, it's a what we have. Have you seen this one?
Yeah, in Linux environment.
Correct. And it's a Windows. That image didn't come properly, you know. I have to open up one more time. Probably this is the right best image. Yeah, I love this image. See here. And read the top one. Top one. What do we call it? Root.
Root.
Now in Windows also we have a root. Okay, in Windows also we have root. Let me show you. In Windows, this is the root. My computer is a root. Where is my computer? My PC. This is the root. Okay, from then you go to C drive or D drive or E drive, like that. This is a root file system. That inside a C drive you always get, whenever you start the boot the system, you get this one, what do you say, Windows or program files, users, all these things you get it by default. That's a root file system. That is, you need it. That when you want to install any applications, you need the root file system. How many you need it? One. That means how many C drive and D drive you need to run Apache? Only one C drive, one root file system I needed. But guys, this file system, you can get it from the MNT namespace. Think simple. So MNT namespace, which is a again program. So you initialize only one and you get initialize one, you get one root file system. So if you initialize multiple, how many file system you get it? Multiple. So you can get infinite. Okay. Okay. So same goes same. PID means what? PID means what? PID means it's not a process ID. I said PID namespace initiate PID map. Now what is a PID map? Now let me show you here. See, the whole when I study little bit of things about the universe and all, how galaxies and all, and ultimately everywhere I read, like everything has come from nothing. Okay, so this is also something like that. See, all these processes you see here, okay, every processes has born from nothing. You see here yourself. Have you noticed this one somewhere? No?
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
So it's like that. So what is a PID map actually? So what happens? Simple way I'm trying to teach you, not complicate your understanding. Whenever you boot your system, there's one nothing get created, and after that zero get created. Everything come from the zero. Zero means zero PID I'm talking about. Okay. After that, you have a kernel which is a one PID. After that, kernel loads some other library. There's a two PID. After that kernel, you log in. Let's say Rajesh login. Maybe it's a three PID. Rajesh runs MySQL, it become a 4 PID, and I run Apache, it become a 5 PID. This Apache runs some other application, this become a 6 PID. This Tomcat runs some internally some other process, it become a 7 PID. Do you see this stuff, all of you?
Yeah,
Guys?
skeleton.
Yeah. So this is called PID map. So how many PID map you need in a system? PID map. This is a map, not a PID. This is a PID map. How many PID map you need it? One. But how many you create it? Multiple, infinite. Think simple. Logic is very simple. So how many PID you can create it? Infinite. Okay. Now guys, if you want these applications to be accessible over the network, then how many network you need it? One. But guys, you know how many network you can create it? Multiple. Understand that? Here I am saying initiate one, you get one PID, just a second, PID map, and here network. Okay. So guys, are you understanding it? All
Yeah.
of you. So it's very simple. So the question was same, guys. What are the resources we need to run one application? So we need a hardware. After that, we need an operating system. After that, we need a one user, one root file system, one PID map, one network. But how many you can get it from the namespaces? How many you can create it? Infinite, 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 infinite. But the question is, how many is allowed? That's the next question. Allowed means your operating system will allow you to create it. How many? So actually, infinite user is allowed to create, don't you? You can create as many users you want it. Have you got any limitation as such?
No.
No, but guys, how many root file system is allowed? You tell me. How many root file system you have seen it in your operating system?
One.
One. Wonderful. How many PID you have seen it in your operating system?
PID map is one.
One. Wonderful. And how many network you have seen it? One. So guys, see this simple thing. Let's talk about this here. Question was, what are the resources? I said resources need to run in on one application. Then I will say I need a one hardware. Inside a hardware, I need an operating system. Operating system has kernel. Kernel has a different namespaces. So in this namespaces, I want that to be one user to be created, one root file system to be created, one PID to be created, one network to be created. I need to run one application. So I need 1 But how many allowed? Infinite 1 How many you can get it? Infinite you can get it. So now the question is, if I can get infinite of everything, why it's allowed only 1 and by operating system? Why? Okay, the question is very simple. Why 1 is allowed by OS? The answer is PC. What is the definition of PC, guys?
Personal computer.
Personal computing. I think you must be laughing why I'm asking this stupid question, right? So PC, why they allowed to create only one root, only one PID map, only one network? Because of this reason. PC, remember, go back to in the history of computing, the computers were not designed for running a data center. Computers were not designed for running application at the mass level, thousands and thousands of applications running in your data center production. Computers were designed for personal computing. That means every human will have one computing device and they'll use to run their applications. It was designed for the human being, not for the data center. So what you will do with a multiple root file system, you'll get confused. If I give you the computer and if I give you 10 C drive, don't you think you get a mad? If I give you 10 PID map, don't you think you get a mad? If you give you 10 networks, don't you think you get a mad? Yes. To make the things easier, operating system said, no, I can allow multiple user because of certain reasons, but I cannot allow multiple root file system, root PID and network. They prohibit it. You cannot create it. I mean, there's a way to create it, to be honest, if you know the command line and all, and super administrator can do that, but I'm saying in a generic way. Are you understanding, all of you?
Yeah.
So now the question is my question is right now, are you running applications in PC? Are you running application in PC? Now, okay, let me remind you. I think you have not got my answer, a question. Today you might have got up, you might have checked the YouTube, WhatsApp, maybe bank balance, maybe chatting also, maybe social networking like a LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, this, that, and all. Maybe some bookings site, maybe what else? I use YouTube, so I remember YouTube and anything. Are you running that application? Are you running YouTube server, YouTube application in your PC?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
How come you're running YouTube in your machine? How come? Are you running WhatsApp in your PC? I mean, Android phone?
No,
You are connecting.
we are using client.
Yeah, you are connecting through the browser or Android app and all. You are using that software, but you are not running it. Okay, mind it. Maybe if I ask you, are you running MS Office in your laptop? Probably you say yes. Why? Because if you are not using cloud version of MS Office, then you must be running it. But if I say, are you running Microsoft 360 in your PC, then you have to say no, because it's running in the data center. Correct, no? You are using through the client. Correct?
Right.
Yeah. So you are not running. Look at this, your daily uses. You are not running any application nowadays in your PC. You just have a client, maybe browser or some sort of client like a Android client or this one, what is it, iOS client and all, and you are consuming those stuff. Okay, consuming that stuff. So where do you need, if you are not running the application software in your PC, then where do we need a CPU and where do we need a RAM? Tell me. And storage. Where do you store? You have a Gmail, right? And you have thousands of emails lying over there. So where do we need a storage? Tell me. Server, yes. So guys, yeah, let's conclude the discussion now. I have 30 minutes before lunch break, so I have to finish this question. What is a container? Okay, so here let me complete this one also. So types of file system, I said boot file system, root file system I have showed you. User file system, you know what? Let me show you, so you will get a memory in your mind. Users. So if I go to my user, this is Rajesh Kumar, okay, and whatever you see here is my user file system. Okay, this is user file system. And what is the app file system? So typically, you know what, I am installing all of my app in a C tools. That's my habit since my colleges. So C tools, and see, this is Jenkins. Yesterday we used Jenkins, right? Jenkins file system is this one. Okay, and Maven we used it, right? Git also we used it, right? So this is a Git file system. So it's an app file system like Apache file system. See, Git file system is located in the root file system. Root file system is located in your boot file system. That is how the relationship works. Okay, I hope you clear. Are you clear with this file system concept?
Yeah.
Good. Git repo is also file system, mind it. So now the question was, what is a container? So the question was, what is a container? Again, guys, I will repeat it. I'll summarize it so you will not forget it. So I am asking you to forget about this question. I'm asking you to just get back to the computing session. So here, what are the resources we need to run an app? We need a hardware, we need an operating system, we need all these namespaces, which is I talked about it here, and these are the namespaces which we need 1 but can get infinite, but allowed by operating system 1 and infinite. Out of which, in the kernel we have namespaces, C groups, and capabilities. Namespace, there are types of namespaces which will do the things which I did discuss here, but C groups will allocate the RAM and CPU. Let's Google it. You will probably get a memory in mind if you read something, if you see something, because see here, C groups, look at this here. C groups is a Linux kernel feature that limit accounts for and isolate the resource uses. Resource means CPU, RAM, and storage. Resource uses of the collections of the processes. See here, processor means PID, the number, the one which I talk about. This is the PID. So who's doing all this thing? C groups. C groups we can find in kernel, and this one. And capability, what is this capability? Capability is basically can control the users. Which users? This user. Control the users whether it's a non-root or root. Mind it here. Capabilities can control root or non-root. You know, some of you must be having. See, Rajesh can be normal user also. Rajesh can be super user also. So who defined that whether it's a normal user or super user? Admin user. Capability which you have in the namespace, which you have in the kernel. Is that clear, guys? All of you?
Yes.
Okay. And then file system I did discuss, and why the PC is not allowing you to create a multiple. I discussed everything. I discussed. Now, most important question was what is a container? Correct? What is a container? That's a question. So guys, if you really want to understand the container, you have to go into the evolution of computing. Understand that. Evolution of computing. Okay. So how this computing is evolved. So earlier, before 1990s, maybe 2000, maybe. Yeah, 2000 maybe. Yeah. So before 2000, here, how you used to run application? So we were running application in physical machine. Okay, physical server. Okay. So why we were running application in physical server? Because before that, probably I'm not saying that I'm exact timeline, but before that, internet-based applications was not popular. So where we were running application, I remember in my college days, I started running application. Which are the application I used to run it? I used to run it MS Office, Windows. I like this Age of Empire games, so I used to run it. C programs I used to run it. C++ program I used to run it. What else? Maybe if you have accounting, Tally and all, if you're in designer, Photoshop, Flash, Acrobat, so many applications. So where you used to run all this application? In a physical server. Okay, physical server. But guys, suddenly what has happened? We got the internet revolution. We got internet. We suddenly started using Orkut. What else? Hotmail, Rediff mail, Google searches, all this thing we started using, right? So with the internet, so then when the internet become popular, then we got the concept of data center. So when we started running application, then where we started running application? Virtual server.
Virtual servers.
Correct now? Now the question is very simple. My question is very simple, and I know that you know, but you have to answer me because I'll get few seconds of break. So the question is very simple. Why did we migrate it from physical server to virtual server? Tell me. Why we did not run our internet based application in a physical server? Tell me. Scalability. More. Cost cutting, correct. Yes. So guys, again back to the same thing. Do you remember my 3 points? See, if you add a physical server, it will take time. If you add a virtual server, you save time. If you run application in the physical server, wastage are too much. If you run in the virtual server, wastage are less. and because of that you can also improve the quality of the software. So here what I'm trying to see, think simple way. Let me draw pictures. There's some noise coming from someone, please mute yourself. Okay, so here look at this, think simple. Okay, this is your this is your PCARs of your traffic in the internet based application, PCARs, and this is the non PCARs. Okay, non PCARs. So now during the PCARs your requirement is 16 GB of RAM, and the non PCARs your requirement is, let's say, 4 GB of RAM. Simple calculation. So now guys, you tell me, I'm talking about the physical machine Sarah. Okay, so now you tell me, if your requirement is 16 GB and minimum requirement is 4 GB during the less traffic hours, so so you buy a hardware of physical server, you will buy with a 4 GB or 16 GB, you tell me.
16 GB.
Of course 16 GB. But guys, one more thing, your average requirement is, average usage is 6 GB. Think simple. So on an average, how much you are wasting the resources? 10 GB. Think simple. That means your 10 GB of RAM you are wasting, multiplied by, if you are running hundreds of server, that means imagine hundreds of server is to 10 GB, thousands of GBs you are wasting per day only in RAM capacity. I'm just helping you to visualize the wastage. It's just a complete waste. 1000 GB you are wasting when you are using physical server. Now let me ask you another question. Have you paid for these resources ever? I remember, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about myself. My first application was Hotmail. Did I pay? No. My second application was Yahoo, then Orkut, and then few other applications. I'm not going to name out those names. And then Gmail, then Facebook, HDFC Bank, what else? LinkedIn, Twitter, WordPress blogging platform, Blogspot, and YouTube, and then many more. Have I ever paid those applications in my lifetime? Have you paid? No. So the question is, from where all these servers is coming? Who's paying for all these servers? Someone has to pay for that, right? Then you will say, okay, we are not paying, but they are running ads, right? They are running ads. But let me ask you another honest question. Have you ever clicked on the ads? Let me ask you simple way. Let me tell you here. Here I'm typing what is DevOps. Simple thing. I type here what is DevOps. So let's say DevOps. I type DevOps. Okay. And will you click on this? Will you click on this? Or will you click on this? Tell me honestly. Which one you will click? You will click, of course, this one, right?
Yes.
Because you know this is ads, you won't get a content which you are looking for it. So yes, you know, like this, like you, like me, we don't click on ads. Out of, you know, CPC rate is 1,000 people. You see this when you search this at the DevOps, 1,000 people see that all this stuff, and only 1% out of the 1,000 is clicking on ads. And then when they click on ads, Google charges their publishers. Okay. Impressions, there's no money. When I click, then they'll have to pay for. Simplilearn will pay only when I click. Simplilearn will pay to Google only when I click. Okay. So that means what I'm trying to say in a simple way, you have to run your application for thousands of people, out of which only one is your client. Okay. So what we need, what Google needs, what Facebook needs, they need to reduce the cost. They need to reduce, for, you know, bugs always come, right? Bugs always come. So you have to reduce the time for deployment and overall improving the quality of software, so your software will having less downtime. So guys, the question is then what has happened? Then we migrated from physical server to virtual server. Now we have a big server, physical server. Okay, think simple. I'm drawing the pictures. This is the big server. Okay, and then we have a hardware. This is a hardware. Hardware means CPU, RAM, and storage and all. And on top of it, operating system. Operating system. On top of it, hypervisor. What is a hypervisor, guys? What is a hypervisor?
Virtualization tool.
Yeah, VMware, VirtualBox, Hyper-V and all. And on that top of that, what we do, look at my screen, guys, very carefully. This is a very important session. This we create a hypervisor, create a VM, virtual machines. Okay, here we create a virtual machines. Now virtual machines also have operating system. Look at it. The virtual machines also get operating system, and operating system create one user, one mount, root file system, one PID map, one network, and then you run applications here. Same goes with here, one mount, one root file system, one network, one PID, and one user, and then applications run it. Now you have a remaining this hardware with you. You can give it this hardware to QA team, dev team, production team, or maybe some other companies also. But here, if you have a running in the physical server, you cannot give access to reuse this hardware physical server to any one other teams, because you know that this resources is very pretty. I mean, production you can't share with everyone. Okay, so like this, the cost got reduced here. So now you understood that why did we transfer from the physical server to virtual server? All of you are clear?
Yes.
Okay, why? Simple reason, because of the virtual machine, wastage got reduced. I repeat, this is a bullet point, bullet line, because virtual machines only brought the wastage reduction. Here I was wasting 1000 GB. Now the wastage got reduced to maybe 200 GB. I could reuse it 800 GB, and I can, if I have a higher traffic, I can create a new VMs within a 2 minute. If you have a less traffic, you can reduce the VM and you can share the same infrastructure with other product, other project, other team, reusing it. So cost will get reduced. Fast deployment, right? So these are the benefits which you have got it. So now again, I will draw one picture, guys, which I forgot to draw. In a physical machine, what happens? This is a physical machine. This is the hardware, and this is the operating system. And operating system create one. I'll change the color. Okay. So here one mount, one network, and one PID map, and then one user, and this is the application. Now see here, mount, network, PID, which I was talking about here. See here, what you need: one user, one root, one PID, one network. All of you got it? One, and then applications can run. Here in the virtual machine also something similar happened. Look at this here. In the virtual machines also, here you get one network, one mount, one PID, one user, and then applications can run. Are you okay with it so far? Guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, got it.
Great. Then I think we are very close. Now, if you have understood everything, tell me, this is a virtualization model. This is a hardware, operating system, hypervisor, VMs, one VM, two VM. VM has operating system and all these resources, and then application. Tell me, we all are running in the today's world. In the today's world, we all are running application in our data center in a virtual machine. For example, when you go to the AWS, you create a EC2 instance. When you go to Azure, you create a virtual machines. When you use the VMware, you create a VM instance, private, public, cloud, hybrid, this, that, and all stuff like that. But the question is, this virtualization is not also helping us. This is also not helping us. So earlier, when you want to set up a physical machine, it used to take 1 day. Virtualization machines, when you want to set up a new virtual machines, it might take 2 minutes. But you know what? Now I need to set up a new compute unit in 1 second. Yes, I repeat, it's a 1 second. I want to run application, thousands of application, 10,000s of application in 1 second. You cannot say I will run 10,000s of application in 5 minutes. No, 1 second. That's the one requirement. Why? Because big billion sales, the difference between the 5:59 to 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock is like 1 second. Same time, I want to deploy faster. Within a second, I should have a new releases. Same time, I want to reduce the cost. Same time, I want the software quality to be at most and the downtime to be less. We have done so many things, like we migrated from traditional monolithic model to SOA and SOA to microservices model. Platform also got modifications, many automation has come, many things is going on parallelly. So but the question is very simple: find it out wastage in this. I repeat, find it out wastage, resource wastage only in this model, virtualization model you have in front of you. Find it out, each one of you. Find it out, the difference, wastage in this model, this architecture, when you are running application in a virtual machine. Any wastage, any repetitive things you see?
Hypervisor and then above OS version.
Wonderful. Yes, you are 100% right. You know what? We want to run this application n number of instance. That's okay. But why do we need to run multiple operating system? Remember, operating system also consume CPU, RAM, storage, and licensing cost. On top of that, this hypervisor is heavyweight. Heavyweight means this also consume huge amount of CPU, huge amount of RAM, huge amount of storage, and licensing cost. So is there any way I want to run 5 applications? Think simple, 5 applications and avoiding this. Is there any way? So wastage of operating system can be reduced. So I'll drop pictures, one more picture. See here, and guys, please stick to the things. Try to visualize more because that's important. Here you have a hardware, okay, and on top of it you have an operating system, okay, and operating system has kernel, and because of kernel you get one mount. This is the mount, okay, and then you get one PID, and you get one network, and one more. This is one user. User is a user, okay. You can create as many users you want. 2 user, 3 user, and here I am running Apache. Here also I'm running Apache. Here also I'm running Apache. So tell me, Apache, if it is running on 80 port, can you run on 80 port here?
No, binding issue.
Correct. Why? Here you cannot run Apache because it's only one operating system, right? But here, in this case you can run Apache on 80 port. 80 port. Why? Because this is the operating system. Here you have a namespace, network namespace, here also and here also. So you can run Apache on the same port. But here you cannot run. Okay. Next question. Here, this Apache is writing the file in C Apache. Can you write this Apache in C Apache also? File integrity will be waste, no? Waste will be wastage, right? Correct? No. Next question. This Apache is running on the.
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
50 PID. Can you run the 50 PID on this Apache? No, because PID map unique IP PID you get it. So here the problem here is, see, try to understand that. The problem here is, and there's so many problems, scalability, and same issues you get it one more time, the wastage of resources, which I discussed just 5-10 minutes before, like this, correct? Wastage of resources. So now how do we overcome this? The problem here is we want to avoid the wastage of the virtualization, which is here. Think simple. We want to avoid the wastage of operating system and hypervisor. But at the same time, there is a isolation is not there. This application and this application is not isolated. And same time, scalability is not there. This one, what do you say? I mean, wastage of resources, again, same time, same problem which you have, which we discuss in the physical server. So what do we do in this case? What we do in this case? Anyone have idea? Tell me. Anyone have got the idea? No, cloud. How can you say cloud means virtual machines, right? Anyone have got the idea? How to overcome the challenges of physical machines and virtual machines? And can we run an app which will reduce the further cost, help you to get in the second, and many other benefits? Have you think about it?
Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
My question is very simple. Can you overcome of the problem wastage, resources wastage of the virtualization, and same time application should be isolated, the resources allocation should be isolated, and also overcome of the problem with the hardware, I mean physical servers wastage? So all this problem, can you solve it?
Yes, it can be done by using containers. Sorry, Docker. I can create multiple images of the same application, and you can deploy it on a same machine, running on different ports, running on different PIDs, and running on different.
Yeah, that you said output. That's the question we are trying to answer. What is a container? What is a container? That's the question we are trying to discuss from last 1 hour, I guess. How can you solve it? What kind of architecture you will design? This is the one physical server, 3 users, but cannot share the resources. Here, this is the architecture of virtual server, and we are wastage of resources, cannot be isolated. Are you understanding the problems, all of you? What I'm trying to?
Yes.
Kernel cannot be multiple, Rishikesh. Kernel cannot be multiple. It's a waste of resources again, no? You are saying one physical server, you will have a multiple kernel. So why we want to run multiple kernel? Because kernel also consumes CPU, RAM, and storage, right? Rather than multiple kernel, have a multiple VMs. No, that's a multiple kernel is like a multiple VMs you are talking about. Simple. Again, virtualization problem will come. Okay. So let me introduce you guys. It's a very important topic. Very important. Please focus on it. Can we do something like this? Think and tell me whether it's possible or not. This is a one physical machine or virtual machine. I don't care. I repeat, I don't care what you have, physical machine or virtual machine. In the each physical machine, you have a hardware. On top of it, hardware. Okay, on top of hardware, you have operating system. Okay, mind it, I said operating system, so I must draw a little bit big. Operating system has kernel, remember, and kernel has namespace, C groups, capabilities. Now kernel by default, you know, because allowed one user, multiple user, one we discuss. So let's create one mount. Let's create one network. Let's create one PID map. So far so good, guys. Are you comfortable so far? All of you?
Yes. Yeah.
Now think simple. Here there is a one user. There is one more user. But this user, you see, they are using all these resources, PID, network, mount. This user also using the same resources, PID, network, mount. Think simple. Again, I'm repeating. This both user is using same resources, and because of that, this isolation is not possible. 80 cannot be possible. C Apache cannot be possible. 50 PID is not possible. Why? Because they both the user is just using same resources. Can we do something like this? Read this. How many users you can create? Infinite. How many root file system you can create? Infinite. How many PID you can create?
We can do
Infinite. How many network you can create? Infinite. Can we do one thing? Can we ask? Guys,
file
there's some
system.
noise coming from. Yeah. Guys, can you mute
We
yourself?
can separate
Someone
file
is.
systems.
Yeah. So guys, can we do one thing? Forget about the operating system. I don't want to talk about the operating system who control everything, but I'm talking about the, can we ask kernel? Kernel, please, can you do one thing for me? Can you create one mount? Okay, separate mount. Is it allowed? Can it can kernel create a mount? Yes, kernel has capability, which is not allowed by operating system, but it can do that. So can you create one mount? Kernel say yes, I can create, no problem. Can you attach one can you create one network? Kernel said no problem, I can create one network. Can you create one PID map? No problem, I can create one PID map. Can you do one more thing, kernel? Can you attach this kernel mount network and PID to this user? Only this user. So this user should not be having access to these resources. This user should be attached to this PID, this network, this mount. Remember, this user and this user is attached to the common resources, but this user is attached to their own resources. Is it possible? You tell me. Is it possible or not? Are you understanding it?
Yes.
So now same way, kernel, can you please create one more mount? Yes. Can you create one more network? Yes. Can you create one more PID? Yes. Can you attach, can you create one user? Yes. Can you attach this user to this? Yes. Kernel can do that. But you know what? There is a problem. There is a problem. It's architecture wide is easy. But there is a problem. You operating system guys said no. Microsoft and Unix and Linux guys said no, we will not allow. We will not allow. Why? Because I design operating system for PC, human being. I did not design, I cannot allow you to change the architecture of the operating system because I designed for the PC, for the human being, not for running a data center. Then this guy said, Okay, then this guy said, I forgot his name actually, to be honest. Immediately it's gone out of my mind. Solomon Hykes. This guy said, no problem. If you don't do that, no problem. You will not allow. I understand your challenges, your problems, your limitations. But can I do one thing? This guy, Solomon Hykes, said, will you allow me to run one software? Again, please hear me out. Solomon Hykes said, will you allow me to run one software on top of in your operating system? Software, can I run your one software on in your operating system? So Microsoft, Linux said, no problem. That's what it means for it, right? Operating system, I can allow to run any software. Then Solomon Hykes said, okay, good. Can you do one thing? Can you please allow this software to access kernel directly? Are you getting my points or not, guys?
Yeah, they are directly allowing kernel.
So then Linux said, see, Solomon Hykes asked Linux, can you please allow this software to access the kernel? Because kernel is open source. So kernel said, yeah, no problem, you can access through. There are certain libraries are there which we call it a live container. Through that you can allow LXCs and all, you can allow. Yes. Then this guy Solomon Hykes said, yes, then problem is solved. Problem is solved. I will do one thing. My software directly access the kernel, and kernel will my software will request all these resources, and I will manage. My software will manage this behavior. I will manage this mount. My software will manage this mount, network, PID, and this user and separation, and then my software will manage. That means this my software will not manage your user which you created. Will not manage, but my software will manage this user and this network, this mount, this network, and all stuff like that. Is it allowed? Then Linux said, no problem, because you are not disturbing me, so I should not be saying no to you. But Microsoft said, no, I will not allow. Mine kernel is a closed source. I will not allow you to access my kernel because it's a closed source. Then Solomon Hykes, no problem, I will write the software only for the Linux. So any idea what is this software? Anyone got an idea what is this software? Anyone? What is the name of this? Yes, guys, this is Docker. So Solomon Hykes wrote Docker, which can talk to kernel and ask resources to allocate and get the resources done, which include mount, network, PID, user, and inside that you can run applications. Now the question is, what is this called then? What is this called?
Container?
Yes, this is called container. That's the reason I said, guys, what is Docker? Container management tool. It manages your container. And now the question is, what is a container? So container, look at this here. You see that here. Container has one network, one PID, one MNT, and attached to one user. Did you understand, all of you, now what is a container?
Yes.
So guys, many people say container has operating system. Never ever say has operating system. Remember, container has no kernel. In this whole architecture, only one kernel is there, which is on the base machine. This kernel can be in a VMs or can be on the physical servers. But container is just this one. Now, how much time it takes to create a one user and all this, one mount, one PID and all stuff like that? Only second. Yes, if you want to create 20 seconds. Parallelly also you can reduce the time. Now, did you understand what is a container, all of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So guys, each container is running as a process in the host machine here, because Docker is managing everything. And again, so many things are there. Because we have limited time, I cannot discuss. I'm skipping few topics to avoid the confusion and all, because we don't have a day. So now I have discussed about what is Docker. So Docker is a container management tool coded in Golang by Solomon Hykes. Okay, it is open source, free, and actually they have a releases, actually multiple releases we have it. This is the Docker Community Edition, and Docker Enterprise also we have it. This is both are free, by the way, both are free, but Docker Enterprise have some additional features actually, so which is good. Now the current release, if I remember, there's a 20x actually. This got introduced in 2014, if I'm not wrong. Just check the dates, I'm not able to recall exact date and stuff like that. So this is the Docker, this is a container. And why we need a container? The reasons are very simple. This one. So now, did you all understand what is a container? Anyone has doubt? Can you please put it in the chat window? I just want to count it. How many of you have understood what is Docker and what is a container? Two people. Okay, so many people have got it. Those who have not understood, no problem. You can go through this recording one more time, and detailed recordings I have on YouTube also. Okay, so you can try. And again, probably you have to little bit spend some time on the computing behavior also, like what is kernel and all stuff, like you'll understand better way. Okay, so now next question, what is the next question? So after this session, I'm going to talk about how to install Docker architecture, and then container management, container, working with the container, that is things, working with container, and also Docker component. These are the 4 topics I'm going to talk about it. I'll give you 20% of lab also, but let's understand that. I'm so sorry about that, but we have a limited time, so lab will be limited. But yeah, again, you can offline practice it and get going. So after this lunch time, we'll talk about these topics, and after that, followed by I'll give you 1 hour of lab and get going. Any questions, guys?
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.